Yo guys, and welcome back to another episode of Podghost.
So guys, today we're pleased to have onto the show Marzana Rahman. How are you, sister? How are you doing?
Wait, I can't do this.
We're going to tell you why, because we've tried to record the podcast first time, and funnily enough, I got the name wrong. So that's
you might
why.
as well tell us. What did you call me?
Yeah,
I called you Marzana Begum.
Yeah, shocking.
Which is so bad. And why did you do that?
You know what? It just came to me. I just thought, you know what? It's just the first name that came to my head.
It's because you've got so many Bengali friends.
Yes.
That's what it
100%.
is.
We love the Bengalis,
100%.
mashallah.
Big up,
Sister, you
man.
know what? Before we start, I just want to say a big thank you for coming on.
100%.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nah, it's all right. Pleasure's ours. We actually had you booked in,
Oh,
I think
mate.
about a week ago.
My bad. I'll put my hands up now. I'm sorry.
And the number one, he lost the SD cards.
Yeah.
And number two, we got stuck in some serious traffic.
mate.
And it's never like that normally where we live.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
What,
I think
A13?
fate just wanted it now.
A13 is every day.
Not every day, yeah. Not at that
Every day,
time.
Every day.
You know?
It's
So, yeah.
okay. I forgive you guys.
Thank
in
you, thank you.
advance.
We needed
So-
the forgiveness before we start.
I had to bless them.
So, sister, you know what? Like I said, thank you for coming on. And we always like asking our guests about their, childhood growing up. But in your case, I want to change it up a little bit and say I want to say burst onto the scene, but you became very well known on social media, and not in the best of situations or circumstances. And in case people haven't heard your story, and I think it's better coming from yourself, what exactly happened, and what made you come out with it, or just leave it with you in your own words.
I'll touch on the background.
Yep.
I'm from a conservative family, but I've had liberal views growing up. So for me, I wanted to have the education, the
Yep.
Prince Charming, get married, have the happily
Shah Rukh
ever
Khan,
after. Yeah, running in the field moment. But as much as I wanted that, it didn't quite happen in that very way. In fact, it was more of a difficult situation. The person that I felt was my Prince Charming introduced me to his fist maybe 24 hours into our marriage. At that moment, I was lost, confused. I didn't know what this was. This was somebody who I was supposed to trust, was supposed to be my protector, was somebody who I gave my life to. And at that moment, all I did was question myself, because that's what you do.
Of course.
I was like, is it my fault? What did I do wrong? What did I say? And that's how it started, my abusive relationship. Prior to that, did I think that he was an abusive person? No. There were various different things that happened. But for me, they weren't red flags, because I was deeply in love with this guy, and he was, my Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think when you're really young, when I came out with my story, a lot of people thought that it was very present and it happened there and then. And it was like I had been in an abusive relationship and I came out the very next day and I decided to go on national TV and talk about it. It was actually not like that. My divorce happened 5 years before. Was it 5? It was about 3 to 5 years before.
So how old
I
was
came
you
out.
when you got married?
I got married when I was 22.
Okay, yeah. that's
I
quite young,
came
yeah.
out when I was like 26.
Right,
26,
yeah.
27, turning 27. So yeah, when the whole campaign and everything started, it was like 27, 28. And yeah, like there was a healed version of me that was talking about it. Why was I talking about it? Because I identified a problem, that there was a lot of statistics going around and there was a lot of numbers that these people have been abused, but no one knew faces. And I was like, that's the very problem. We can't put a face to the statistic. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to change that. As well as that, I also had someone sit in front of me who I was trying to help, who was a victim of domestic abuse. She completely didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to open up, until I opened up and I said, I've been through this. This is what happened. He hit me in this way and he did that. And I went through financial abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, XYZ. And when I did all of that, she opened up and she was like, I would never have thought that a girl like you would have gone through abuse.
Of course, 100%. I'm not going to lie, same thing.
Because when you think of like an abused like victim, what do you think of? You think of, you know, someone who
Frail, you know.
Quiet, yeah.
Quiet,
someone
yeah.
who don't really, not someone who's talkative and someone that's really, you know, out there.
And I was the polar opposite of that. I was just this confident girl that had my life supposedly put together. It's all a facade.
So were you always like confident? Were you always, you know, you get two sorts of people. Were you always one of them people that had confidence and loved, you know, going out, meeting people, or were you one of them quiet ones?
I've always been an extroverted introvert. So
Yeah,
I am
bloody
an
hell.
analytical person, but at the same time, you put me in a crowd. I've worked in the corporate world for many years, and you can imagine what that's like.
Of course.
You have to, you know, put your face out there, you need to put your voice out there. So I have been very confident from the get-go. There's been moments in my life where things have happened and my personality and my emotions have been suppressed, but that's because of whatever I've been in.
Of course.
And I think when I went through my abusive relationship, that was a moment where Marzana was sort of like suppressed. She wasn't herself.
Yeah.
And then when I came out of that relationship, I then became Marzana again. And there's been ups and downs because, you know, mental health is one of those things that's always up and down,
100%.
dependent on
Absolutely.
the circumstances that you're in. So I guess
Sis, you know, I'm
that's the
sorry.
background.
I want to ask you a question because obviously, you know, naturally when you hear someone having an abusive relationship, you always just jump to the first question, which is, like you mentioned before, you never knew that, you know, the guy was abusive or had that in him. But I always think there's always signs that people can show. Like, for an example, the way people get angry, you know, which leads to you thinking, wow, you know, this is a bit too much. Like, you know, most of the time when people get abusive, it's when they've got such a short temper.
Like a little screw loose,
Like a
and you
screw
see
loose,
that.
and
Yeah,
you see
yeah,
that
yeah.
sometimes, you know. And were you totally oblivious to the fact that, you know, he's not like that, or did you ever think he's got it in him?
I'm going to correct you.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No,
It's-
correct me.
You know, with abusers, we have misconceptions. We think that they are the guys with the screw loose, the guys that are short-tempered. Sometimes those guys might literally just have moments of anger,
Yep.
sporadic,
Yeah,
and then they're happy the next second, right?
I think it's a bit like me.
That's a bit like me on Call of Duty. I'm getting vexed.
You have your moments, but you know, it could be those guys that
Yeah.
are abusive, but it could be the other end of the spectrum where they're the nice guys that talk
100%.
to everybody.
Yeah,
that
maybe, yeah.
You will think that they would never do anything wrong. And I think in my line of work, as somebody who's turned from a survivor to an advocate, who's worked with various different people and heard various different stories, you know, you've even got people that are imams and maulanas who have
yeah.
the Islamic knowledge
course.
that are beating their women black and blue, but at the same time going out and preaching this, you know, that you shouldn't beat your wives and your sisters and your daughters.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the really quiet ones that you will think, oh my God, he's such an angel. The whole family will think it's her that's the problem.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's him because behind closed doors, you don't know what he's doing. You have no
100%.
idea what's happening in somebody else's household.
Absolutely.
Or you get those ones that are very short on the tongue and they'll cuss your whole khandan out. And, you know, it's just you never know. The same way you don't know what a victim can look like and can be like.
Yep.
The same way you have no idea what an abuser can be or look like. The only circumstances that you know is when you're in it. And there are certain things that, I mean, I didn't, like, when I first did my interview and it was on Islam Channel, I'll be honest with you, I never watched that interview back up until last weekend when I thought, I've got to come and talk about this after so many years. You know, what did I sound like? What did I talk as?
You actually didn't watch it?
I didn't watch it. I'll tell you why, because I think I couldn't face that girl that I once was because I felt like I didn't do her justice. I've supported so many different women. Alhamdulillah, I've been able to. And, you know, I feel as though I couldn't do that for her. And the pain that I had, only I could recognize. And I was like, I didn't want to see that. And also, I am a self-critic. So if I watched that back, I probably would have, demanded that they take it off because I probably would have criticized myself in so many ways. And also, the blog that went viral that, you know, everybody read, I also didn't read that back.
I see it as a positive though, because, you know, thinking about what you went through, you you kind of like basically just said it yourself that you needed to remind yourself what happened because you've grown so much that you've tried to leave it into the past.
Absolutely.
So I see it as a positive. That's a good thing.
100%.
You know?
And I think what I wanted to delve into was the fact that that girl was still very innocent and she didn't know a lot. I think since I came out, I've grown so much as a abuse survivor, as well as somebody who's an advocate and who speaks about domestic abuse and can now identify the traits. You know, the anchor on that interview asked, like, you know, what were the signs that you should look out for? And I was like, well, I didn't know, but now I know. So when I speak to someone, I can say, right, you know, and I was speaking to you very briefly about this of, you know, love. When you're in love with somebody and you see certain things and they do certain things for you, how do you know that that person is genuinely loving you, or are they love bombing you? What do I mean by love bombing?
Yep.
It might be that they're doing things that are extra.
Right.
You know, so much love and all of a sudden it changes, where they love you 1 minute and then all of a sudden you're the worst person on earth and they're gaslighting you because you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that and X, Y, Z. So it's
a bit like bipolar, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's bipolar, but these are narcissistic traits that, you know, you don't know about in the normal world. I mean, now it's a lot more openly spoken about. Of course, you hear the terms narcissist and you hear those terms gaslighting, etc. Whereas back, you know, in my day, say 6 years ago when I came out with this, I had no idea what those things were. I had to learn those things, and along the way I did. So now I can say that, you know, if somebody is in front of you and they are giving you silent treatment, that's a form of abuse. If somebody, you know, if, for example, in a relationship, you should communicate. There's ups and downs in relationships.
Of course there are, yeah.
But you need to communicate these things,
100%.
right? And that's what a healthy relationship is. You get people that won't talk, not for days, not for weeks, months sometimes, and that is a form of abuse. They are making you feel so guilty, and it might have been you that's right about certain
it messes up your
something.
mental health, because if you're not speaking to someone, they're going to start thinking, have I done something wrong? You're making them fight with themselves.
Yeah, but at
You
the
know what I
same
mean?
time, you have to look at it from the other end of the spectrum, right?
Okay.
For an example, if I'm angry and I'm having an argument with, it doesn't need to be your wife, it could be your sister, your brother, anyone. Sometimes silence is a good way. Like, I've always felt like
No, you're
when
right.
I'm arguing with someone, let them give some space. Because I always think space is vital in anything, you know, any relationship. When you're arguing, sometimes I'm one of them people, I'll start acting in anger. So once I've calmed down, got my thoughts back together, got myself back, then I'll be like, whether it took me a few hours or maybe even a night. So I think maybe that might be one of the reasons why, no?
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a couple of hours. You're saying,
A
let
day
me
max.
recollect my thoughts.
Yeah.
Exactly, a
Yeah,
day.
true.
You're saying, okay, in the heat of the moment, I'm going to walk out.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to calm myself down because I don't want to do what's wrong.
Yeah.
I want to do what's right by my partner. So
Absolutely.
that's why I'm going to go, I'm going to cool down, I'm going to think about this, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to discuss this.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes both ways, female, male.
Of course.
You know, walk away from it, breathe, come back and deal with the situation. But what I'm saying is, you put the bottle here and not here. How dare you do that? You're a
That's
terrible
stupid.
wife.
Oh, yeah,
you're
yeah,
this, you're
of
that.
course.
And then you go away. You don't talk. You make that person feel so guilty. Like, why did I put it there? I should have put it there in the first place. Oh my God, all he
Yeah, I
ever
feel
wanted
you.
me to
I
do is
feel
put
you,
it
yeah.
there. You know, it's
Yeah.
those sort of things that you should identify. But that's not normal.
Of course not.
And I say that, you know, out loud, that it's not normal.
No, it generally
You know,
isn't. Like, if
do you
you're
see what
the
I
way
mean?
you just said it out there as well, it just makes you think that's just so stupid. It's
No, I
like-
think I know.
But it's
But
exactly
people do
that.
argue about these things. Yeah,
Your
you're right.
mental health is, you know, is drained. You're emotionally drained because somebody thinks that you're doing everything wrong.
Yep.
It might be the way you're eating. It might be the way you're breathing. It might be the way you're sleeping. Everything about you, for some reason, is bad to that person.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because you're wrong, but because that person is irritated by certain things. So the problem lies with that person, but that person makes you out to be the problem.
Now, let's just say that it's man or woman.
Yep.
Yeah. In that situation, maybe I'm being a bit naive by asking this, but so why are you with that person if they're treating you like that? So then that comes to my question, not firing directly at you, but what made you stay with your partner for 4 years? maybe you've been asked this question so many times, but I just wanted to know, like.
So I was with him for 4 years prior to marriage. The marriage only lasted
9
months.
Right.
But even those 9 months,
Yeah.
why was I with him? Because I didn't want the title of being a divorcee.
Yeah,
because of social pressures, the status quo, you have to be a particular way. And also because he would say things to me like, girls like you, they don't last in relationships, they walk away. You don't have it in you to be a wife. So what am I doing? I'm proving him wrong.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, no, I can be a wife. No, I can be this, I can be that. Losing my own ability to know what's right and what's wrong. And also, and this is something that comes up quite a bit when people ask me, like, when their sister's going through it or when their friends are going through it, and they want that person to get up and leave, and they're like, why don't they just leave? They know she's getting beaten up every night. Why is she not leaving? I had bruises on my face. I was battered. I plastered my face with makeup to cover those bruises. But why didn't I leave? Because you look at the circumstances and you think, firstly, it's that fear of what are people going to say. Secondly, it's the fear of what if I leave and he does something else? Like, I was constantly under threat, and this person would say, it's really hurtful things. I've actually written it in my blog. I'll get your mother raped. I'll get your father killed.
Wow.
Like, my youngest brother was
that is
really,
mental, yeah.
really young. Like, I'll make sure he's disabled. And I thought that he was a very powerful person, but that's because I myself didn't have that power. I didn't have, not that I wasn't intelligent enough to know better, but because I was so scared that I couldn't see sense. And that's a common issue within these scenarios.
I think it's culture too. I think it's culture. I feel like whether you're Bengali, Pakistani, Indian, whatever.
South Asian culture is so brutal.
It's so hard on women. And I'm not just saying that, for every woman or, agreeing with every situation. There are situations where the woman's completely fucked up, not in a rude way. But I just feel like women have it so much more harder in culture, in our culture, more than men. Whether it's, 90% of the time when a woman's having a divorce or a breakup, it's always, she must not be a good girl, or, I think that is such bullshit. Like,
100%.
It's easier to blame the woman. And also, like, we were having this conversation about remarriage, right? When a man is divorced, he's divorced. It's okay,
yeah,
right?
of course.
When a woman's divorced, but why is she divorced?
Yeah.
When a woman has a child, she comes with baggage. When a guy has a child, it's not that bad.
You're seen as cool, isn't it? He's got a baby mother.
Yeah, he's
exactly.
like,
baby mother.
he's that guy.
Yeah.
There's so much. Or even when a guy is like a bit older and he hasn't been married, it's almost
it's fine. You can find a younger person.
Yeah, you can find a younger person.
Yeah.
But when a girl's a bit older, it's like, but she's old. Her body clock.
Even in circumstances of, why did she get divorced? Oh yeah, because she was getting abused. But there must be a reason she was getting abused. They'll still try to find a good way about it. You know what I'm saying?
Astaghfirullah, yeah, I agree, bro.
Mental, man.
I just feel like I think with women who come out like yourself, I have nothing but respect, because
of course, man.
It's hard to come out, number one, especially being from, like I said, a South Asian background. I think it's very difficult for us to come out and, speak about negativity, because some people might think it's an attack on their culture,
Yeah.
And that's me speaking as, someone who's interviewing you and asking you. I always feel like a lot of people might be watching this thinking, why is she talking shit? Like, they don't even know you.
I first had, like, there was two ends, right? I had some people that was so supportive. And in fact, I can't say some people, because that's, that doesn't give justice to the amount of people that came out and supported me. I mean, it was huge, right? But then there were people out there that were like, Marzana Rahman's going to be ruining our younger girls and our generations to come. Why is she talking about these things that should be covered up? And alhamdulillah, like, when I think about it, my blog is part of the national curriculum. It's part of the GCSE curriculum as a case study. So
brilliant.
Alhamdulillah, it's educating the generations to come. Like, alhamdulillah. And the way I see it is, it's not my victory. It's that of all the women that suffered, because one thing that I really wanted was that one day when I have a daughter, she doesn't suffer that way. Because how do you open up and tell your daughter, like, oh, this is what I went through? And also, when I came out with my story and all of that kind of stuff, you guys are going to be like, what the hell, Marzana? But no one knew.
Right.
No one knew I was doing this interview. My own family did not know that I went through an abusive relationship. My parents were in Singapore at the time. And the blog, I was so surprised that the interview went that viral that it reached them. Wow. I was so confused. I was like, okay. I honestly thought that they weren't going to see it straight away.
Yeah.
And they're abroad, so it's good timing. Like, I can do it. I can face the consequences. And then when they come back, I'll explain it in a different way. So I thought, I'm taking it on like a soldier. My brothers, one was abroad and another one was studying in the madrasa at the time. And what people didn't see, and I think with me, I do this very well. I conceal my own emotions and I go out there like, I'm fighting. But there was a lot of emotions behind it, for your parents to not know that, X amount of years prior to today, you went through an abusive relationship, having your parents be on the phone saying, is this what happened to you?
Of course.
That was tough. And then having your younger brother call you up saying, I thought you were working with people. I thought you were helping people. I thought, you were helping people that were going through abuse. I didn't know you went through it. Tell me honestly, did you go through it? My younger brother doesn't cry. He's like a really solid guy, right? He's not so young anymore. I call him my baby brother, but he's a big 6'3" guy. But to hear that that was hard. And where was I going with this? When you lose your trail of thoughts because you go through that emotion.
But you see where you said covering up when you were talking about that. There's times where you need to cover up, but in certain, like for example, you try to cover up to your family, but there does come a time where, like you said, you've moved past it, you've gotten stronger, and for the people that are turning around and saying, "Oh, she's going to ruin our younger women or younger girls or daughters," no, if anything, I'm teaching them. These are the signs you need to look out for. Yeah, so absolutely. You don't go through the same thing as me. But that's the thing. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people are always going to have their own thoughts.
Opinions.
They're always going to have their own opinions.
There will be that concern. And this is where I was getting to when I was speaking about my parents. I mean, their concern was that you've openly spoken about this. It's going to stick with you. You're going to be someone who's going to be identified as that girl. And don't get me wrong, it has affected me in various ways and it has helped me in various ways. But back then, and I still share this thought and this value of if it can help everybody else, it's okay. Like sometimes you take the bullet because it's for the better cause. And I think that's what's really important. And one of my messages was I wanted, being one of the very first South Asian women to come out with something like this.
Of course, yeah.
It's for then to see people go on socials or speak about it or, be in my comment section saying, I went through this, send me emails saying, this is my story. Having, men email me saying, we apologize for mankind. That was so refreshing.
Even when you said it gave you a bit of backlash and it did affect you a little bit. To be honest, let's just say, for example, someone's talking about you trying to find another man and it's going to stick to you. Personally, it's just my opinion, so obviously don't get at me, but it's like...
Go for it.
That guy's not ready for you then, innit? He's childish.
Me, so alhamdulillah, I'm okay.
No, but you know what I'm saying, innit, though? Like, that guy's not ready for you then, in other words. You need someone that's a bit more mature, that understands...
Open mind, basically.
Happens. Yeah, exactly.
No, but I say this all the time. I feel like there's a lot of women that are fearful of those repercussions, and that's why they A, stay in their relationships, or B, don't talk about it. That wasn't one of the reasons why I spoke or didn't speak. I spoke for the greater reason. But does it affect me? Do I think, a man's going to come into my life or it's not going to come into my life? Absolutely not. I think, and I did say this to my parents back then, whoever comes into my life, I want them to know who I am, who Marzana is.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly that.
Know me for my scars and my wounds as well as my happiness and my smile.
No, absolutely. Well said.
Brilliant.
Sis, there's something that, something that I've been thinking the whole time we've been talking. Do you reckon sometimes when you choose the person you want to marry yourself, that might be one of the biggest reasons why you don't want to tell no one? Because that whole thing about you chose him, and I always think that if you go against your family, not necessarily you went against your family, maybe they agreed first time or whatever, but majority of the time there's always some sort of war. And
love marriage, in other words.
Yeah, love marriage. It's always like, it's never as smooth sailing as you'd want it to be, right?
Absolutely.
And then you think, I chose this dickhead. Exactly. Not in a rude way. And not him, but I mean in general, right? No, what I mean is, you choose, and it's the same as a man. You can be like, I chose this fucking, this weirdo, and now I'm stuck with her, or I'm stuck with him. And I always think like, maybe that's probably the reason why we don't want to come out with it. And we just take the shit. Did you go through that, or did you find yourself thinking, I can't now say he's attacking me or he's abusive?
I didn't want to say it because, you conceal that person's flaws.
Because your mum found the ishtar, then you'll be the first to say it after the first look.
Yeah, of course.
Man, you don't know.
I think it's easier when your family do find that person, but at the same time, I've come across so many different people and heard their stories, and the reality is you don't want to hurt your family.
Of course not.
And because you don't want to hurt them, you don't want to tell them, whether it be that they bought the rishta or you bought the rishta. That's your person. The same way, they're supposed to protect you, you protect them, right? And in the Asian culture, we girls are raised, and I say Asian, maybe it happens in different cultures as well, but I grew up in a very traditional environment where mum taught me how to cook when I was 16 years old, and you grew up thinking that I want to be this way with my partner, and he's going to be this way with me, and he's going to protect me, and I'm going to be, no matter how educated you are, you're still the homemaker. And I still believe that. Like, I still want to be, whoever my rib is, I want to be his home, and I will be, like, I've got that. I know that he's coming, whether it be in a horse or on a horse, or like
walking.
I don't know.
Don't make a difference.
No, in a Ferrari, bro. Like, give him some credit.
No, I think a rickshaw in your case.
From Bangladesh. I get that all the time.
But sister, you know what? We've spoken about the whole negative side, and I always thought but before we do move on to other things about you moving on, I do want to speak about the signs of, people that are like, guys who share similar traits, and girls to watch out for them things, because you've been through so much, and you could be such, a light to these girls that are probably going through something like yourself, and maybe they don't know how to come out, or maybe they're noticing that, what Marzana's saying, we see this with our partners. What would you say are the signs for people to look out for and be aware of?
There's many different forms of abuse. It's not always physical. Of course, if it's physical, that person should not be laying their hands on you.
Of course.
That's wrong. There's emotional abuse. If somebody is affecting your mental state of mind, cohesively controlling you. What I mean by that is telling you exactly what to do, how you're supposed to move, where you're going, isolating you. You can't see your family, you can't see your friends. He might turn around and say, I care for you, that's why I'm telling you that you can't do that. But let's face it, you have no right by Islam or by law to tell me not to see my mother or my father. One of the things that I had to do to communicate with my mum was turn the shower on and say, Mum, I'm okay, I'm fine. And that still breaks my heart, why? But then that person was like, I'd never stop you from seeing your family. You don't have to not see them. And at the same time, if I went and saw my family, but you went against me. This is how your family treat me, and this is what you do. So that's cohesive control. That person's controlling you indirectly. And you're going to be like flabbergasted. Like, what's going on here? But it's happening, right?
It's weird.
So
maybe because we're not like that, and I'm not like that. I just find these things weird. Like, why would you want to do that though? Go see your mum. It's not a big deal.
Right? I mean, I have conversations with people and, friends, family, brothers, and they're like, I'd rather she go to her mum's house for a week.
FIFA all night.
Freedom, whatever. And I'm the other end of the spectrum. Go out with your boys. That's absolutely fine.
But it's funny because nowadays, sorry, I'm going to go back into it. I think I always feel like nowadays girls have that thing where they want to stick to their husbands.
That's
girls don't, I've seen it a lot. Like, girls just stick to the man. Like, the man's trying to undercover get rid of her. Why do you go there? Why don't you go to
don't try and get rid of your
not like completely get rid of the girl, jump off a cliff. But I mean, they actually, I think a man needs space. It's like my personal relationship. Allah bless my wife, and she always looks out for my mental space. Like, why don't you go out? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?
Same.
Because sometimes you can see that even men need their space, you know.
Yeah, it's a two-way street.
I think, you know, going back to it, I think in
sorry.
general life, I do believe that, you know, when men start getting abusive like that,
It's weird, man.
Like I know guys who do that, and you know you're watching as well. Guys that don't even like their wife talking to their family, like. How the hell do you stop a woman from seeing the woman that gave birth to her? Like, I don't understand that at all. If someone told me I can't see my mum, there'll be more than abuse. Like, honestly, I just can't imagine it. So you're absolutely right. I think that is a very nasty.
And what you said there, very rightfully so. Like, you know, abuse is two ways. Obviously, I focus on gender-based violence because it's something that I can relate to and talk about. Absolutely. Abuse is both ways. Working in, you know, this industry, I don't know if I can call it an industry, but this
it is general, technically, yeah.
You know, I've come across men that have been abused. So it does happen. But with relationships, I'm not a relationship expert or a guru or a life coach or any of that. But from what I've seen, a healthy relationship is that where there is space.
Yes, 100%.
Where, you know, there's communication and you let the guy go out and do his thing, whether it be, I mean, it's really funny because like the best of relationships I've seen are those where, you know, there's almost banter, like
yeah,
the
they're friends.
Like, go out, go find yourself another wife.
Exactly.
Right? And then the guy's like, you're whatever, and then she'll be
already
like, no
got
one's
her, but
gonna
you don't know
handle
about
it.
it.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I wouldn't spell my missus.
No, I do not encourage this kind of behavior. I know you guys have got wives at home. Don't worry, sisters, they're okay.
But they don't know what we told you off camera, that there are other wives that they don't know about.
I always say to him, I was
You
like,
guys are asking to get beats. Like I do. I'm like completely against domestic
before I leave,
violence.
I always say, I got the girls on rotation and I need to get out of it, man.
But what I'm going to say is guys that are openly speaking like that
I
are
agree.
the ones that
you're
won't
right,
go out and do it. And then you
Of
get
course.
guys that don't talk about it and they secret. And I'm not saying that this is set in stone, but there are guys that don't say anything and they're cheating.
Of course.
On the roll, right? And then there's guys that are joking about it. So it's really identifying your own relationship, being open, being honest, and being able to talk about it. So going back to us sort of identifying those different traits.
Yep.
If you don't have banter, if you don't have communication, your relationship's not healthy. That on its own is a sign, right?
That's so true.
It's identifying those little things. It's being able to say, hey, our relationship is not right. Let's talk about it. If he turns around or if she turns around and says that, you know, no, I don't want to talk about it, you're a victim.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the harsh reality is identifying yourself as a victim. You don't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to call myself a victim for the longest time ever. Not just the 9 months that I was with him and he was, you know, abusive in various different ways, but also while I was out of it and I was concealing. I didn't want anyone to know that I was divorced. I didn't even want my family to know that I had been beaten or any of that stuff. Financial abuse. We don't know about financial abuse. It's a thing. You know, if he's taking out a loan in your name, if he's taking money from you, if he's not being the provider, you know, obviously, hopefully this goes out to various different religions, but I can only speak for my own. Like the man is supposed to be the breadwinner and the provider.
Yeah.
If he's not doing those basic things and he's neglecting you of those things and your heart,
Of course.
Oh yeah.
is abusing.
Especially when you're not allowed to work yourself, and then on top they're not giving you nothing either.
Yeah, like I really don't understand that. You know, guys that or guys that take from their women. We're supposed to. I get it, cost of living. It's hard. You know, you need to manage your household, but it needs to be a mutual thing. And at the same time, I'm not saying, you know, that women need to go out there and say that the man needs to give me everything, so I want a Birkin every other day. No, you don't.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Yeah.
I'm completely against that behavior. Like, he needs to provide the basics.
Yeah, of course.
And anything on top is a bonus.
Yeah.
And she can work, but if she works, that's her money. And if she decides to give it to you, that's sadaqah for you.
Of course.
Even to the point where, like, you know, slightly off topic, but even a woman breastfeeding her child is sadaqah upon her husband.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, if Islam goes to that extent, you can imagine how much you're supposed to do 100%. For your wife. And you as a person, you should really, like, take yourself, your body, your mental health, everything as an amana, it's a gift from God, right? So if you value yourself enough, when somebody is not valuing you, you see that
See that,
discrepancy.
yeah.
You see that, okay, he's talking to me in this way. He shouldn't talk to me in that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay for you to say to me, go get me a glass of water. I'll do it because I love you.
Yeah.
But don't treat me like
Like
dirt
I'm
and
some,
say,
like I'm some
go
maid.
get me a glass of water. Like, you know, who do you think you are?
I think what we're trying to say is the tone and the respect they have
Yeah.
in their, in their
Respect
voice.
is very important in a
Yeah,
relationship.
100%.
And, you know, a lot of people say to me, like, why are you still single? How are you still single? My thing is, until I find all those things, like, I'm not going to give away my peace.
Yeah.
You know, there's this saying, like, you don't go shopping when you're hungry because you'll end up buying everything and anything. Same way, don't go looking for a relationship when your mental health is not in the right place or you're lonely and all of those things, because you'll end up attracting the wrong things and the wrong person.
Here's a question that maybe some of the women or men might ask. So when you're looking out for these signs,
Yes.
obviously I'm thinking of it in the sense of now, am I going to be overthinking? Right, I need to check if he's got these signs. If he's not got these signs, oh wait, he's not talking to me.
You're just scared about your own situation.
I'm good, you know what I'm saying? I told you, girls are
Marzana, you have ruined Seth's
I've
marriage.
ruined so many relationships.
No, but
Don't put that on my conscience. I need to find a husband.
No, but you know what I'm saying, innit?
I know what you
Honestly
mean.
You know what I'm saying?
speaking, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, you don't want them to
shook.
start thinking that,
You're
I
shook.
need to check.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
tick list.
honestly, you know, I've been on the other end of the spectrum
Yeah.
where things have been hard.
Yeah.
If I'm in a relationship, will I overthink? Absolutely not. Like, maybe there will be things that I will question because
Yeah.
of my experience. But if your partner is doing all the right things, if he gets angry, there's nothing wrong with anger.
Yeah.
I can get angry. You can get angry. We're only human. We have human traits, right?
Yeah.
Patience is so important, and I honestly believe that marriages lasted a lot longer in the older generations to our generations because we don't have that patience anymore.
Of course.
If there's specific things that this person is doing wrong, firstly, we should go out and do our research. But it might be that you have an open conversation with your partner where you sit down and you say, okay, hey, let's check in. Are we cool? You know, is everything okay? Am I hurting you in any way? Is there anything that I'm doing that's affecting you? You might go home and have that conversation with your wife, and she might say, you know what, you could have done this, and you check in and
I
you be like,
agree.
Yeah.
actually,
Well
you know,
said.
if I do that, that might make my relationship better. But saying that,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that if you're behind this screen
Yeah, yeah.
watching this, that you overthink and you think
Yeah.
that your husband might be absolutely fine, but there's a problem.
Of course.
We do overthink, creatures of habit. It's normal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But don't let it affect your relationship. I'm no way, shape or form a marriage breaker. I
No,
do
no,
not
of course
believe
not,
in
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
No, do you know what?
No, it's okay. Give your wife my number. Don't worry. I'll
that's
speak to her.
right,
She'll be
yeah,
No,
fine.
my sister, you know
She's
what?
not allowed your number. I've said it.
She'll
Spoken.
Instagram you. Yeah. I do honestly rate the way, you know, we can speak about a very negative situation and still somehow see, you know, have a laugh
Yeah.
at you about it. Because, you know, sometimes people just think, you know, speaking about negativity is going to cause you to be really upset. And we can see right through you're a strong woman who you can see knows what she's talking about. And some people, obviously, I think they play the victim, not the victim card, but I mean, when they've been through a lot, they either let it make them or break them. But I feel like you've become so much stronger and a more of an independent woman. I feel like I think women should be built like that. I do honestly believe, especially the society we live in today. Because we just touched up on social media, we said about Instagram, and, you know, naturally, I mean, the society we're living in today, I think it's very important for a woman to be strong. And especially when, you know, the mental health side of things, where women now are comparing their marriages to what they're seeing on socials, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's with everyone, you know, it's a part of it. If you're not thick-skinned, you do kind of fall in that trap, you know, of, you know, oh, look how happy they are, or look how happy she is, look what he bought her, and we're like, oh, damn, we can't, you know what I mean?
I mean, they don't even go small extents. It's like straight Kim Kardashian. It's like, rascally, man, we ain't gonna get that kind of peas, man.
At least we say I never look like Keanu.
Yeah,
West.
exactly, man.
Keanu.
I don't want to, but
yeah.
yeah.
We don't, but what I mean
That
is,
didn't last.
No, but what? Yeah, you never will with her. Right.
No, don't say that. Oh, God.
No, that's fine. That's allowed.
Make
to be
me
said.
say all the
We're
wrong
allowed to
things.
come. We're allowed to cuss Kim. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's fully allowed in this podcast. But yeah, you know what I think? The reason why I said that, because, you know, you've now taken all this in and you've started so many, you know, projects, and you work with so many, you know, in positive light, you know, bringing your past into your future, but in a positive way. And now, obviously, I asked you off camera before, what do you do at the moment? And you came out, I do so much work and stuff. So I want to go into your future projects and what is there for you next.
Yeah.
You're going to make my mum kill me because...
Auntie, you're watching this. Chucking them all in.
It was his fault.
Well, she messaged me before.
I'm going to be diplomatic about this.
Yeah.
Because you've asked me on camera. I know he's going to post this. So, like you said, so we have different lives.
Of course.
We have a social media life. We have a personal life. And we have a professional life.
Yeah, word it properly.
It's a lot of life.
And it's really important to keep all of those things separate.
Agreed. Agreed.
I don't openly, even on my social media platform, I don't talk about, a lot of people ask me, what do you actually do? Like, I'll show snippets of, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, it's this event, or I'm in this country doing X, Y, Z. So I do various different things. I don't talk about it because I have a very strong PR team, being my mother, and she criticizes everything about me. And there was even the other day she sent me this TikTok post. It's like, when mums have TikTok and WhatsApp and all that, it's so annoying. Trust me. But alhamdulillah, my mum, I love the fact that she is that independent mum.
Alhamdulillah.
And she's got social media and she watches me religiously. But, she sent me this thing you want to start a business? Shut up. You want to date someone? Shut up. You want to get married? Shut up. And it was literally shut up, shut up, shut up. And the moral of the story was you can talk about it, but your plans should come out and they should be seen rather than spoken of. So there's that.
Before it's happened.
Before it's happened. So I won't talk about future plans, but
Plus, we also believe in Nazar as well, innit?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I won't post my food until I've eaten it.
Choke on it after. I think that's a man thing, because my brothers do that
honestly,
as well.
No, I'm going to be honest, I post it while I'm eating.
Me, I get scared.
It's like he's got the arms and stuff. High metabolism.
You know what it is? I think naturally, when you're on social media now, you just think, you don't really think like that anymore, do you? And I think, only naturally you start, be careful when you're posting kids or whatever. But I think in general, it's become a part of life, man.
Yeah, man.
I don't think it's something you think about now.
No, you don't.
You
know when you're in the content you're posting, you don't even realize your voice after.
You should post out there. Don't get me wrong. I have a social media presence, and I've been quite restrictive about it. I haven't been online for a while. I'm just about getting myself back on.
Reason for it? Just to keep away from it, a little break?
Your own pain you can control and you can deal with. Somebody else's pain kills you. So there was so much that came from these campaigns and everything that I did that I was mentally and emotionally exhausted. When people email you saying, I'm about to take my life, what do I do? They send you pictures of being bruised and being in situations where you can't help them physically. I think you empathize because you're I see you and I see myself, but I can't help you. There's only so much I can do. There's only so much signposting. I've worked with various different organizations, and I think from a brand awareness perspective, you get 100%. You can go out and do 101 campaigns. Course, you can work with different charities, and you can do so much, right? I've put out a blog that people can read and they can, identify themselves. But when you're dealing with people and you can't help them the way you want to help them, that really gets to you. So my mental health, what people didn't see was that these stories broke me. Bro, I can't even begin to tell you how much it affected me. And each and every, sometimes I put up little snippets because, I read something and I don't have the courage to reply to someone. So I'll put something out there saying, I see you, I see your pain. And I'll write something that's generic because I get responses back where it's not just one person responding. There'll be another 10 people that will respond. And I really needed to read that today. So I'll put those reminders out there. But those sort of things really do hurt. And also, even when I first came out, again, certain people don't know that there was a few people behind me that helped me, that were opening up messages. and they weren't responding, and then there's people that thought that, you know, it was me that wasn't responding. So there was just so much emotionally that I had to deal with, that I had to do my thing, shut the book,
step away,
walk away, be a bit strong, and sort of come back. And I also needed to focus on myself. I needed to, you know, bring my flame back, bring my power back.
I feel that.
Because there's only so much that you can give.
100%.
Unless you're strong yourself, you can't give. And, you know, you're saying that I'm a strong individual, and, you know, there's so much behind me. I've had so many knockbacks in life. But the reality is, you know, you are as strong as the hurdles that you face, and you overcome.
Yeah, but a lot of people says when they go through you know, stuff, and especially like what you've been through, and I think they let it get better for them, and they completely fail, and they lose respect. They lose their own respect, to be honest. They lose themselves, and I've seen it happen where, you know, they've been through something and then they lose that. They stop loving themselves, and once you see them do that, it's just like the self-destruct button. They can't get themselves back.
Self-destruction is
real, of course, 100%.
You know, I think everybody's been through it. Like, I think I've had moments where, you know, I've been, I don't even know if I should say this, but like I didn't wear my hijab. Like, I took my hijab off. Like, initially when I came onto the scene, like I was always like 50-50 with it, and I don't call myself like a hijabi or anything like that. I'm just an individual that's trying, and I try my best. And
respect to that, man. Yeah, respect to that.
You have so many things that you face, and even like what changed for me to even become this person now and sort of come back and think, right, okay, I'm going to do social media again, but I'm going to take a completely different approach. Alhamdulillah, I was invited to Umrah last Ramadan.
Mashallah.
And
beautiful.
I mean, I put the story out there, but you know what I was doing tawaf? Like, not a lot of people get the opportunity to kiss the black stone. Alhamdulillah, I kissed the black stone.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you know when I kissed it, right? Bro, Rams go flying, of course. I swear, the first thing I did was like, oh my God, I can't, like.
Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing feeling. I've done it.
Holding my hijab, right? Oh God, you kissed the black stone. Came out, and I swear, I read my 2 rakat namaz, and I swear I didn't tell anyone, because like in my head I was fighting myself. I was like, over there, I was fighting to hold this thing on my head, right?
Deep.
And in the real world, I'm that girl with like long curly hair, like I'm out there.
Bit like him.
we're probably related, you never know. Yeah. But it was that realization of, who am I? What am I trying to represent? And also things like, Ya Allah, you know, when I was doing tawaf, and I was like, that izzat, has it been taken away from me? You know, I spoke for good. I went out there and I tried to do good, but there's bad that came from it. So you can, mentally, I was up and down. Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? What am I doing? And when I was doing tawaf, and then I read the namaz, I sat there and I was like, whatever happens, I'm just going to face it.
Just going to go with it.
I'm going to go with it.
Leave it in God's hands.
I'm going to leave it in God's hands. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I came back and I didn't wear the headscarf straight away, and I posted a bit of Umrah content, and people were like, oh my God, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then I sat down. So I've got an office in my house, and I sat down and I sort of like, okay, put a camera in front of me. And I hadn't been in camera, like on front, like in front of a camera for like 4 years.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I was like, right. I was waffling for a bit, and then I started talking, and I was talking about this journey. And I think within that moment, I found myself, and I was like,
it's wicked.
Okay, this is all right.
Yeah,
this kind of rolls.
I see everything as a positive, innit? With me, that's just me. Like, you go through things for a reason, and everything happens for a reason. It's a test. Everything's a test.
But I think the moral of it all is that there's ups and downs. There's so much that happens, but that whole self-destruction, don't let it get to the better of you.
Yeah.
You know, if you go through something, you shouldn't blame Allah, and you shouldn't blame people. And you shouldn't think, you know, this happened to me. And don't get me wrong, people do it. Like, I think, like, my biggest battle, I don't go out screaming and shouting in front of people, but You know, back then I used to drive my car and blast my music on high and, you know, act like I was in a music video. And then it went on to like screaming to Allah and saying, why is this happening? Why am I unfortunate? Why haven't I got this and got that and blah, blah, blah. So it happens to the best of us. Like someone behind a screen might look at me and think, oh my God, her life's perfect. It's really not. Like we all have emotions. We all are human. We have these battles. And I fight with the person I love, who I love the most, and it's my God, right?
Of course, alhamdulillah.
So you fight. And I did fight. There were times where I was literally like, I don't like my life. What is this? So you do fight, and it's absolutely fine to fight, to scream, to do all of that. But do it in the right place.
Yes.
Do it on your prayer mat. You know, when I went through those mental ups and downs, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with friends that are professionals, you know, psychologists and to doctors, to this, to that. And they're like, oh, why don't you try therapy? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And I'm like, the moment I open my mouth and I talk and I identify all this that's going on inside me, I'll break. You won't ever see me again. Like, I'll be off the planet. So there's a lot of scars that I hold, and I do believe that you should talk. It's important to talk to somebody. So therapy is very important. Everybody has different forms of therapy. My therapy is very different, where I cannot openly express to an individual, but rather, you know, I talk to Allah, and I have a spiritual therapy.
That's the best therapy, man.
But that's me, right? Some people need to talk about it. So find your space, find what heals you, heal yourself. Don't let it break you. A lot of people are like, how do you overcome certain things? What do you do? I'm going through this right now. How can I turn my life around? How do you start up a business? How do you do this? How do you do that, right? And I can sit here all day long and I can talk about all those things. But what I'm going to say is each and individual person's journey is different. But what you need to do is sit down, get a pen, get a paper, and write down. I don't know if I'm talking too much.
No, don't be silly.
No, it's good.
I mean, this is perfect for a podcast.
Write down all the things that you want to do. It can be as little as, I just want to eat a whole chocolate cake today. Right? Or it can be that I want to start up a business. It can be that I want to raise my child in this way. It could be anything. Whatever it is that you want to do, envision yourself as that person in the next 5 years or 10 years. See that person, right? And become that person. That's what I do.
It's like planning, innit?
There and I think, okay, I want to be this person. There's times where I've had nothing. Like, you know, I'm talking to you about my Umrah journey, and I said this out on socials. You know, like, I've had a situation where, like, because of, you know, COVID and all of that kind of stuff, I lost everything. I lost myself, my business, my everything. Like, it went down the drain, lost everything. There's been ups and downs. I keep saying that. Me too. I'm on repeat mode.
Mum was
ups
and downs.
You've had ups and downs, isn't it?
That's going to be the title of
my ups and downs.
The ups and downs of life. No, it's such a terrible title. No one will watch it.
Tell us the ups and downs.
But, you know, Mum turns around and she was like, she wants to go Umrah. And I swear, wallahi, I was like, I don't have the funds to do this. How am I going to do it? Have I got the means? Like, or, you know, to be able to do it in the way that she has, you know, had it in the past. So, like, okay, over COVID, my parents also went through a divorce.
Okay.
And that whole 4-year gap was because, I mean, alhamdulillah, my mum is flying right now.
Allah bless her.
She's had an in-house therapist. So, you know what, credit was due. She was a very, very strong woman. So she went through that. And I think because of various different things, like, you know, we ended up in a place where I couldn't give my mum the lifestyle that she once had, because at that moment it was like, right, what can I do? So, you know, when Mum said she wanted to go Umrah, I wanted to be able to give her that standard of Umrah, and just general, like, it's hard, right? So one by one, I sort of did one thing after the other. It's like, okay, book the tickets, then book the hotels. I booked my ticket last. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this. But, you know, when you make the intention, Allah, like, provides.
Of course.
And it comes to you. And it was when I had paid for everything, and I was sat there with my janamas, and this is Asr time. You know how they say when you sit between Asr and Maghrib, and that time I didn't know this, right? Your du'as get accepted. I had no idea. I'm sat there, right? And I'm sat there again arguing with my best friend, Allah.
Yeah.
I'm sat there like, you know, how am I going to do this? Like, I'm so deflated. And Allahumma barak, I got a phone call from someone. I had done some work in the past, and this person was like, oh, by the way, this has come through. We need to pay you for this.
Wow.
Send over your bank details.
Wow,
show me my money.
That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Alhamdulillah. And
Alhamdulillah.
you know what, bro? I'm not, you know, the wealthiest of people, like, but whatever I have, I'm wealthy because I have my mother and I have her
that's what's
du'as.
more important, man.
Alhamdulillah. And yeah, like, we went out there, we had like the best experience, and Allah was blessing us everywhere, every single step. You know, the car that came along initially, we booked like just a standard car. We had like, what's it called? My brother was hyping about it, like CG, whatever.
GNC.
Something like that.
Yeah,
CG.
Tell you jumped in the CG.
I know my cars, but yeah, no. So the car came through, and it was a bigger car. My brothers were like, "Whoa, D, like you hired this?" I was like, "Oh," and the
It just came.
And the guy was literally like, there was a mix-up.
Yeah.
You know, we were supposed to do this, and this happened, but honestly, I feel like Allah was blessing us because we had that intention, and those things happened, and you know, it's just there was so much that came from it. Yeah. So what I'm again going back to self-destruction, you can sit there and you can think life is rubbish, and you can think, you know what's left.
Yeah.
Or you can sit there and think, right, okay, my life is shit, excuse my French, but
that's right.
I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to work hard. If you make dua, if you have intention, why would Allah not listen to you?
Absolutely.
He might not give it to you there and then.
Like you said, there's patience, a big thing.
There's sabr. He might not give it to you there and then, but he might give you better. He might give it to you in a different way. Yeah. So that's why I have hope that, you know, my life's going to get better and better.
Inshallah. But sister, you know what? Honestly, we've gone past the time and we're taking too much of your time now. So I just want to say a big thank you for coming on.
Bed.
Yeah, I know. Me too. We've actually got another podcast after you.
Oh,
so guys, there you have it. If you liked what you saw, make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe.
And hit the bell notification so you don't miss none of our uploads.
Marzana, before we go, your last message to anyone that's watching?
Have belief and your life will turn around. That's all it takes. Just a little bit of belief.
Alhamdulillah. There you have it, guys. Take care. We're out.